Better. Today we'll be looking at the historical development of cooperative society, and under that we have the Pre-Rochdale Cooperative, Robert Owen, Dr. William King, Rochdale of Reputable Pioneers, and also we're talking about the ICA. So before we proceed, if you not subscribe to the channel, subscribe so that whenever we drop a new videos you'll be notified. Alright, the ICA defined cooperative as an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. The ICA, as we know, is the governing body of cooperative around the world. But before they came into existence, there have been a foundation that other cooperative in the past have led. So before that, let us look at Pre-Rochdale Cooperative and what they did. Pre-Rochdale Cooperative, we can trace it back to Britain, because Modern Cooperative normally is a child of circumstance. It was aimed at exposing the ills of capitalism in order to replace it with another. Well, we're talking about more economic system that is founded on the principle of cooperative economy and mutual help, that is demonstrated in terms of superiority over capitalism. We can trace Modern Cooperative to the middle of the 18th century, and the originators of this were the workmen employed by the government in the dockyard of Woolwich and Chatham, who as early as 1760 have founded corn mills. So they had corn mills on cooperative basis. So they had this corn mill just to help themselves. So in order to move against the high prices that were charged by the corn millers, then the corn millers, they had the highest monopoly then. So but they didn't have this as easy. It wasn't easy for them, because these societies, they money find themselves in severe conflict with both the private bakers and millers, to the point that when the Woolwich mill was burned down, the local bakers were accused because of the rivalry that were going on there. Also, the Chatham millers had to take necessary precautions in order to avert such fire outbreak. So let's just say, just like an insurance policy, understand? So that is just how we can say that corporation could therefore be said to have begun with the flour milling and baking by the workers of Dockyard and Woolwich. One thing that we also point out in this Pre-Rochdale Cooperative is the Woolwich men had only a mill, but the Chatham had both mill and bakery. So, and that is just why more cooperative corn mills sprang up when the outbreak of the French War occurred. So it led to sharp rise in the prices of bread, because during war period, there is always hardship, and the prices of goods and services normally increases drastically. And normally the origin of cooperative storekeeping is not very clear, The first recorded store was that of the Weavers Society at Fenwick in Ayrshire. They normally began their trade by clubbing together to buy necessaries as early as 1769. Yeah, because this was followed by also the Scotsmen govern that was virtualizing society back in 1777. This beginning we are normally associated with experiment except the communes, and they never constituted a movement. So we won't say that the communes they were really a movement. So it was after the French wars that cooperation began to take a shape of movement. At least it was one of the reactions of the working class to all the unbearable economic situations that followed after the Industrial Revolution in Great Britain, because it put them in a condition of perpetual conflict and labor unrest. So because this stress that followed during the wars and Industrial Revolution brought about the second person we are going to discuss later, which is Robert Owen, because he had an ambitious plan of reorganizing the social system in Britain. Well, he had his colonies and his type of corporation. Also, Dr. William King, he was a scholar of Robert Owen. He introduced his ideology, which was amended to Owen's ideology. So they had many societies, and all these were before the Rochdale of Equitable Pioneers. So they listed the names of the founders of the Rochdale of Equitable Pioneers, which we'll look at later. So but for the cognizance of the Pre-Rochdale Cooperative, let's call some names. We have such as Charles Howard, James Smiths, William Cooper, and others that opine that they learned from the mistakes and causes of the failure that were experienced by the early cooperative societies in order to set up the first successful cooperative society in 1844. Yeah. So one fundamental point about cooperative is that every cooperative organization must not only reflect but also fit into the socio-economic conditions of the area that it tends to operate. Yeah, that is it. So if it hopes to survive and also make the necessary impact that cooperative is established, so this means that the first need of the members must come first. Yes, it must come first in any cooperative organization. This thing may be in form of social, economic, or even cultural need, because this was the case in England during the French wars, or we call Napoleonic wars, that lasted for over 15 years. Because then hunger and hardship devastated the people. So as the effect, people were dying. Then you now see the Industrial Revolution that shifted the economy from agriculture to industrial mode of operation. So it laid down many workers. Many people were sad because this machine now had to replace them. We'll still look at the Industrial Revolution later, but for the purpose of, let's just focus on this for now. So we're just trying to trace down the historical development of cooperative to this modern cooperative we are practicing. So that is what we're trying to do. So we already established some things about how this cooperative started, from how it started from being just a normal movement from the corn mill factories to what it is now. So because during the industrial revolution there are many things that happened, but later we'll still talk about that one. So for now, let us look at Robert Owen.